Monday morning, 4 a.m. in Tehran.
Right.
The city is, it's dead quiet. And the morning call to prayer, the Adhan, starts echoing over the rooftops.
Yeah, usually this moment of absolute spiritual calm.
Exactly, just that calm before the chaos of the city really starts up. But according to the document we're diving into today, that calm was just cover. Because precisely as the prayer started, the center of Tehran turned into a war zone.
And we aren't talking about a few guys with spray paint here or even a localized protest. We are talking about what sounds like a full-scale paramilitary assault on perhaps the most fortified district in the entire Middle East.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We aren't, reading the New York Times or the BBC. We are analyzing a raw primary source.
A very specific primary source.
Right, a transcript from Radio Irava. It's an interview with a man named Fardin Mahoutchyian.
And before we go one step further, we really have to put a giant asterisk on this for you.
Yes.
This source is highly partisan. Mahoutchiyan is a supporter of the Mujahedin-e Khalq, or the MEK. And for those who don't follow this closely, they are a militant opposition group whose stated goal is the complete overthrow of the Iranian regime.
They have a deep history.
They have a history, they have an agenda, and they have weapons.
So just to be crystal clear, this isn't an objective news report. It's a communique from one side of a very active civil conflict. Our job today isn't to take a side or to tell you this is absolutely true or this is false.
Right. We're not endorsing the viewpoints here.
Exactly. Our mission is to investigate what they are claiming. Because if even half of the stuff in this transcript is accurate, the situation on the ground in Iran has shifted dramatically.
Oh, fundamentally.
We've got a reported physical attack on a place called the Spider's House, and then this wild digital war that suggests the regime might actually be creating its own fake opposition.
That second part, the digital war part, is what really kept me up last night.
It's crazy.
The idea that a dictatorship might use AI to promote their preferred enemies. That's just next level Machiavellian. It completely changes how we have to look at modern revolutions.
It's terrifying, honestly. But let's start with the explosion, the physical attack.
Let's do it.
The interview details an operation against what's officially known as the Motahhari complex. But the interviewee uses a much more evocative name for it, Beit al-Ankabut.
The Spider's House.
The Spider's House. I mean, it sounds like a Bond villain's lair.
It really does.
But looking at the specs provided in the transcript, it might actually be one. Usually when we hear about protests in Iran, you think of universities or public squares, right?
Right, like Azadi Square.
Yeah. So why target this specific complex? What makes this real estate so incredibly valuable?
Well, it's not just an office building. It's essentially the brainstem of the Islamic Republic.
Yeah.
It's located right near Pasteur Street and Horse Square, and this complex is massive. The transcript puts it at roughly 620 by 770 meters.
That is a massive footprint for the middle of a capital city.
It's a city within a city.
Yeah.
But it's who is inside that actually matters.
Yeah.
The interviewee claims this complex houses the judiciary, the intelligence ministry, the assembly of experts, and this is crucial, the residence of Mojtaba Khamenei.
The supreme leader's son.
Exactly.
The guy pretty much everyone assumes is next in line for the throne.
Right. So if you hit this building, you aren't just breaking some windows at a local police station. You are striking at the succession plan of the entire regime. You are hitting the intelligence ministry literally where they live.
It's a massive message.
It says you aren't safe in your own bed.
Which totally explains the security description in this document. I was reading through the defenses listed in the interview, and it's wild. 17 rotating cameras, frequency jammers to kill cell signals, anti-aircraft systems on the roof, and the manpower. He claims 2,000 IRGC protection corps are stationed just for this one spot.
With another 8,000 in the immediate vicinity.
What?
So it's essentially a fortress city.
So how do you even breach a fortress city? The source claims this wasn't some quick hit and run by a couple of guys. They describe a highly synchronized attack, and they specifically mention using that morning call to prayer on the 4th of Esfand, which is February 23rd.
Yeah, using the Adhan as audio cover.
And honestly, that detail really stood out to me. Why the Adhan? Is it literally just about the noise covering the sound of the weapons?
I mean, it's practical, sure, but it's deeply symbolic. The interviewee makes this really grim point. He says the regime often carries out its executions of dissidents right at the morning Adhan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a psychological tactic the state uses. They associate that quiet, spiritual moment with the state's absolute power to take life. So by attacking at that exact second, the MEK is trying to reclaim that time slot.
They are turning a time of state-sponsored death into a time of active resistance.
Precisely. It's meant to be poetic justice.
That is heavy. It's totally rewriting the psychological association of the prayer for everyone living in that neighborhood.
It is. And the logistics they claim for this are staggering. They say 100 members were in the first wave of the attack, with another 150 holding a secondary perimeter.
That's 250 fighters in downtown Tehran.
Right, with mortars, shoulder-fired launchers. This isn't a protest, it's a battle.
Yeah.
But here is where the fog of war gets really thick, because the regime's response to this reported attack was, let's just say, confusing.
Confusing is a very polite word for it. It was all over the place.
Classic damage control. First, the IRGC comes out and says no bullets were fired. Everything is fine.
Right.
Then it changes to, well, okay, there were minor injuries. But my absolute favorite detail, the one that really shows the absurdity of state propaganda, is the PVC pipe narrative.
I circled that 3 times in my notes. State media apparently claimed the attackers were carrying Polka, PVC pipes. What, were they there to fix the plumbing?
Right.
Open up, we're here for the leak in the intelligence ministry.
It sounds totally ridiculous to us, but it's actually a very specific strategy. It's an attempt to humiliate the attackers.
How so?
Think about it. If you admit you were hit by heavy mortars, you look weak. You'd admit there is a highly organized paramilitary force that can breach your absolute best perimeter.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But if you say you were attacked by some vandals carrying plastic plumbing pipes, you just look like a victim of random street hooliganism. You delegitimize the enemy. The interviewee is adamant that this was just pure propaganda designed to mask a massive, massive security failure.
It's gaslighting on a national scale, basically telling the public, don't believe your ears, that wasn't a mortar explosion, it was a pipe bursting.
Exactly.
But the source also mentions they sent the names of their own casualties straight to the UN. They said 16, and later updated it to 26 arrested or killed members, plus 2 missing cameramen who were embedded with the team.
Yep.
Why do that? Usually, insurgent groups hide their losses to keep morale up, right?
Usually, yes. But here, it's a preemptive strike against the regime's narrative. They knew the state would eventually parade the bodies or the prisoners on TV and call them random criminals or drug smugglers or foreign agents.
All right.
So by lodging the names with the UN immediately, they are planting a flag. They're saying, these are our soldiers, this was a legitimate military operation, go verify it. It shows how desperate the battle for truth has become. They literally trust the UN more than any local news agency to record their history.
Which is the perfect segue to the other half of this transcript, because we have this physical war with mortars at the Spider's house, but the interview actually spends almost more time discussing the information war.
Oh yeah, a lot of time.
And they aren't just attacking the regime, they're going after other Iranian opposition groups, specifically Reza Pahlavi.
The Shah's kid, as they keep calling him in the transcript. And this is where the deep dive gets really complicated.
Yeah, it does.
Because you have to understand, the Iranian opposition isn't just one big, happy family. It is deeply fractured. You have the Republicans, like the MEK, who want a republic. And you have the monarchists, who want the Pahlavi dynasty restored.
And they hate each other.
Almost as much as they hate the current regime.
And the accusations Mahoutchyian makes here are wild. He claims that the massive support we constantly see online for Pahlavi, it's completely fake. Not just exaggerated, but literally manufactured by the regime itself.
Right. This is the social forensics part of the interview. The source cites data, allegedly from a report by the French newspaper Le Figaro and a group called Social Forensics.
What were the numbers on that?
They claim there's a massive bot farm of about 4,765 accounts. And these accounts generated 843 million tweets and almost 2 billion likes favoring the monarchy.
Wait, 1.7 billion likes. I don't care who you are. That is not organic grassroots energy. That is an algorithm on overdrive. Even Taylor Swift doesn't get that kind of engagement without a little help.
Right. And look at the timeline he proposes for this. He claims 95% of these accounts were created in early 2023. Then they went completely to sleep.
Zombie accounts.
Exactly, zombie accounts. And then they suddenly woke up in early 2025 to just flood the zone with pro-monarchy content.
Okay, but pause for a second. I need to wrap my head around this logic. Why?
Why? What?
Why would the current Islamic Republic run a bot farm promoting the son of the king they literally overthrew in 1979? That seems like political suicide. Why give free airtime to your enemy?
It seems crazy, but but it's actually a brilliant strategy. In intelligence, we call it controlled opposition. If you are the regime, who do you actually fear more? Do you fear the group with the mortars attacking your intelligence headquarters at 4 a.m., or the guy living safely in the West posting YouTube videos?
The guy with the mortars. Definitely the mortars.
Right, so you artificially inflate the popularity of the safe opposition. You make the monarchists look huge online. What does that do? It demoralizes the militants on the ground because they feel outnumbered. It causes massive infighting among the dissidents because they start arguing over which leader is actually legitimate. And it completely confuses the international community.
So the regime is effectively choosing its own enemy. They would much rather fight a Twitter war with Pahlavi than a shooting war with the MEK.
Precisely. It distracts everyone. If the opposition is busy fighting each other about whether the old Shah was good or bad, they aren't coordinating attacks on the Spider's house. It's a classic divide and conquer strategy, just adapted for the age of AI.
That is so cynical. And they aren't just using bots to retweet things. The interviewee claims they're using AI to actually doctor audio from real student protests. This part really got to me.
Yeah, the University of Tehran example.
Walk us through that.
So he says students at the social sciences faculty were chanting, "No monarchy, no leadership," basically rejecting everyone, rejecting the supreme leader and rejecting the Shah.
A total plague on both your houses situation.
Exactly. But he claims the video that went viral online was heavily edited. He says the audio was deep-faked or manipulated to sound like those exact same students were chanting pro-Pahlavi slogans instead.
Think about how incredibly gaslighting that is. You are a student. You risk your life to scream for freedom. You go out into the street knowing full well you might get arrested or shot.
Yeah.
And by the time the video of you hits Twitter, your own voice has been hijacked to support a different dictator. It completely muddies the water.
It creates a reality where you just can't trust your own eyes or ears anymore. If you can't trust the raw video evidence of a protest, how do you know what the people actually want? It isolates the protesters because they feel like their true message is never, ever getting out.
It strips the people of their voice entirely. And, you know, speaking of the people, let's ground this for a second. We've been talking about spies and commandos and bot farms, but the interview creates a really stark picture of the economic reality that's actually driving all of this.
Yeah, the underlying cause.
Because people don't usually attack highly fortified compounds just for abstract ideology. They do it when they're hungry.
This is the fuel for the fire. The interviewee throws out some absolutely brutal math about everyday life in Iran right now. He says the poverty line is now roughly 50 million tomans.
And the average salary?
About 20 million tomans.
Let that sink in for you. The average worker is earning less than half of what they need just to hit the poverty line.
Correct. He estimates 3/4 of the entire population is underwater. They aren't just struggling to get by, they're drowning. And when you have that level of sheer desperation, the fear barrier finally breaks.
The fear barrier.
Yeah, the interviewee notes that despite the massive crackdowns, despite the threat of execution or arrest, students were out protesting mere hours after universities reopened.
Because what do they have left to lose? If you put your head down and follow the rules, you starve. If you break the rules and protest, you might get shot, but you're starving anyway.
Exactly. The threat of death loses its sting when life is unlivable. And this feeds directly into the Chelom cycle that he mentions.
Right. Explain the Chelom cycle, because I think that's super important here.
It's a crucial cultural engine for these uprisings.
Yeah.
In Iranian culture, both culturally and religiously, you mourn the dead heavily on the 40th day after their passing. It's called Shalom.
Okay.
So imagine the timeline on the ground. The regime cracks down and kills a protester. 40 days later, the community gathers for a memorial protest for that specific person.
Right.
Security forces get nervous, they crack down on that memorial, and they end up killing someone else.
Oh, wow.
So then 40 days later, there's another mass gathering for that victim.
It's like a perpetual motion machine of unrest. It just keeps feeding itself. And this is the exact same rhythm that brought down the Shah during the 1979 revolution, isn't it?
That is the exact historical parallel the source is drawing. He's saying history is repeating itself in the mechanics of the uprising. The regime is trapped in a loop of its own making.
A deadly loop.
Yeah. Because they can win the bot war online, they might even be able to repel the physical attack on the Spider's house, but it cannot fix the basic math of earning 20 million tomans in a 50 million toman economy. And they definitely can't stop the calendar. Every 40 days, that grief turns right back into anger in the streets.
It really is a volatile mix.
Yeah.
You've got a population with absolutely nothing to lose. You have an armed opposition group allegedly breaching high-security zones with military hardware at dawn.
Right.
And a government so paranoid and desperate that it might be running fake accounts for its own enemies just to keep everyone confused.
It paints a picture of a system that is incredibly powerful on paper, yet incredibly brittle in reality. I mean, the Spider's house might have 17 rotating cameras and 2,000 armed guards.
Yeah.
But if the foundation of the country, the economy, and the people's trust is completely gone, the walls eventually come down, you can't police a collapsing building indefinitely.
That's a great way to put it. You know, one thing that really sticks with me from this whole analysis, we live in this crazy age of information overload. We think, because we see a viral video or we see a trending hashtag on social media, that we inherently know the truth of what's happening halfway across the world.
We feel informed.
Right, we feel informed. But this transcript suggests that in modern conflict, the truth itself is just another active battlefield.
And that is the really haunting takeaway here. If the interviewee is even partially right about these bot farms and the deep fakes, we have to ask ourselves a hard question. When we look at global conflicts on our phones, are we actually seeing the reality on the ground?
Or just an algorithm.
Exactly. Are we seeing reality, or are we seeing a carefully curated narrative pushed by a server farm?
Wow.
Are we watching a real war, or are we watching a production designed to make us feel a certain way? And if a regime would artificially inflate the popularity of a safe opposition figure just to marginalize a dangerous one, what does that tell us about the complexity of modern information warfare?
A production with real casualties. That is a heavy, heavy thought to leave us with today. We are definitely going to be tracking this story as it develops, seeing if we can get any independent verification on that PVC pipe claim versus the mortar attack.
I'll definitely keep my eyes peeled for any news on that. And I'm for sure going to be looking a lot closer at who is liking what on my social media feeds.
Absolutely, me too. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. Remember to keep questioning the narrative, stay curious, and we will catch you next time.